Facebook Live. I know several of you asked me about ingredients and the recipes and kind of what I'd be doing tonight. So for those of you that just tuned in and you may or may not have all the recipes, we can certainly get them to you. But tonight we're actually doing breakfast. I was trying to save breakfast for a hands-on class, but this COVID has just threw everything to the birds. So we're going to go ahead and do one tonight to give you some breakfast ideas, because a lot of people have been asking me about that. People that never ate breakfast before are home, and they're getting up maybe a little later, a little hungrier, and they're saying, hey, I need to do some healthy options for breakfast. So today I'm going to make a lot of things, and we're going to do it fairly quickly, and I'll tell you about one recipe I didn't make, but you can make. And there's plenty more ideas where this came from, so if none of these are attractive to you, let me know and I'll help you figure out something else. But we're going to start today with making a protein shake, because a lot of people tell me, I don't like breakfast, I don't eat breakfast, but my blood sugar drops before lunch and I feel bad if I don't do something. So my encouragement to you is, why don't you try to develop a little bit of a protein shake that you can make, and you can make it 1,000 different ways. It doesn't have to be this way. In fact, I think on my website at Platology, I probably have, I don't know, 100 different or 50 different smoothie recipes and protein shake recipes. I brought in, to make my protein shake, a couple of different protein powders, and you know, there's just hundreds on the market. This one is a pea and brown rice protein, and it's one of my favorites because it's kind of geared for people that have insulin resistance like me, that whole where you gain fat in your belly and you're trying to lose weight and make sure cardiovascularly as well as cancer, you're in good shape. So it's called Ultra Meal Cardio 360. This can even be mixed just with water, but it's great in a protein shake, has some flavor. Then I also brought in one, because people tell me I don't like pea protein, I don't like rice protein, it tastes too much. Well, there are all of these collagen proteins, and you've probably read about them on the internet. And the collagen proteins are made from animal products, and they don't taste. A lot of times they're made from collagen-containing parts of the animal, but they are organic and they are done well, and they don't taste. So you can try something like that too. A lot of people are asking me about that, so I wanted to show you one. I found a deal. Y'all know, if you know me, that I look for woohoo stickers. So I found a deal for only $7 at Kroger, which is why I bought it, because that's such a good price, and I can make some other things with it and show you some more when we do some other recipes. But this is recommended by Dr. Axe, and a lot of you have seen him. He's been one of the big guys on talking about nutrition and cancer, nutrition and other diseases. But he's a good doctor, MD. But anyway, $7, you can find it cheap. Otherwise, it's quite a bit more expensive than that. So I've got a blender, and I purposefully tonight brought my cheapy blender. I have two blenders. One is a really super potent, can just digest anything in that blender, and that's the Vitamix. Or I have my $15 blender that I found on the markdown aisle. I just want you to know that if you don't have one of those super duper dynamite blenders, it doesn't matter. You can still make protein shakes. So we're going to start, and remember, you can measure this and you can go directly off of the ingredient list and do it perfect, or you can just do anything you want to do. But I'm going to start tonight with some almond milk, and if you notice, this is the unsweetened vanilla, because it's going to give it a little extra vanilla flavor. It only has 30 calories per cup. So this is really substantially less caloric than milk. So I'm going to put in a little bit of milk in here, and what I find is if I make one that's too big, and it's like, oh my gosh, can't drink all that for breakfast, just throw it in the fridge and drink it later on, like about 10, and then maybe again a few sips at 2, because it's a great balance of protein and carbohydrates. So in mine, I have over here, I have some frozen mango, and I have some frozen banana. They're not quite as frozen as they were when I came in. And just for fun, I had some blueberries left over from all of the blueberry stuff that I was making for today. So I'm going to take and put a few blueberries in here, because I still have enough for everything I'm going to do. Put a few blueberries, and then we're going to do something weird. I know you're going to say, what are you talking about, Jody? But I'm going to put some baby kale in here. And if you've never had kale in a smoothie, I want you to know that it doesn't make it taste weird. It makes it taste bright. See this big handful? Putting a big handful of kale in here, because think about it, if you can get a cup in there, you've already knocked out one of your servings of vegetables out of your 7 for breakfast. Then I'm also going to add another little tweak. I'm going to add some chia seeds. Now chia seeds kind of thicken things up, you know, they get mucilaginous, so if you let this sit for a while, it's going to get even thicker. But the cool thing about this chia seed is it's loaded with unsaturated fatty acids. It also has quite a bit of protein. Per, let me read it to you so I do it exactly. Let's see, per tablespoon, it has 5 grams of fiber. God, that's amazing. And it has 2 grams of protein, just per 1 tablespoon. So that's all we're going to add to our drink, is about a tablespoon. So we're going to go ahead and put just a little bit of chia in there. And the chia seed also, adding all that extra fiber, is going to help you with making sure you're regular every day. And you can put some stevia in here. You could put lots of different things to flavor it up. You could put a little bit extra vanilla. Remember, we have vanilla in the milk. And so I'm going to just see what it tastes like without any stevia. And we'll see what it's just a couple minutes, can't really talk over it, so I apologize for not talking while it's going. And you get this really cool, delicious smoothie. I'm going to save this for Rachel to taste and see what she thinks. But I think that you'll find that it doesn't even need any sweetener. It's just great. You see how I have a little left over? So all I would do with that is just put it in another cup, throw it in the fridge, and you'd have it for a little bit later as a snack. So that drink would be acceptable and take the place of breakfast, especially for those of you that are trying to cut down a little bit on carbs. But I have another option for you too. One of the things that I made ahead, because we wouldn't have time to make all this while I was here, are some breakfast bars. And you have that recipe for the complete breakfast bars, those of you that got it. This is what it kind of looks like. I'm trying to hold it up for you so you can see. It's going to remind you a little bit of one of those Nutri-Grain bars, in that it has that softer texture. It's not a real hard, crunchy bar, but it has everything you want in it. And when I make a whole 9 by 13, what I do is I wrap them individually. Then you can either throw them in the freezer or they'll last a week in the fridge, easy. And then you can pull one of those out. So let's say you were a little more hungry than just having a protein drink. You could turn right around and have a little bit of a complete breakfast bar along with it, and it would make really a delicious breakfast. In this I have bananas, I've got a little stevia, so this is going to be sweet, kids are going to like it. I used the flour that I used in this time. Each time I used different flours. Was this Bob's Red Mill all-purpose mix, and this is the one that's the garbanzo bean and fava bean flour. So if you haven't tried this, they're carrying this at Kroger now, by the way. Several of the stores have started picking it up. They didn't used to have some, you know, a lot of choices in the flours that you get, but they do have this one. It makes excellent, excellent protein or breakfast bars. And then I put some protein powder in it. So I put some of the collagen protein powder in that because I didn't really want it to taste or to change up the texture. I just wanted that extra boost of protein. And by the way, this has, I'll make sure I say 9 grams of protein per scoop. So it's got a pretty good boost of protein. Then I also put in here, you know, oats, so you've got your good complex carbs. I wanted to talk again about baking powder because I had a couple people ask me about baking powder. They had a hard time finding Rumford, and I think we determined that the Trader Joe's also is aluminum free. What I'm looking for the most is for it to say aluminum free on the label. We don't need to be eating aluminum. There are some studies that suggest that might contribute to Alzheimer's and maybe even some types of cancer. So we want that out. But if you get the aluminum-free baking powder, they'll still puff up and rise nicely like that bar did. And Rumford is the one I always look for, but again, just make sure it says no aluminum on it. I put some nuts in there, I put almonds, I put chia seed, and I put fresh blueberries. So this is gonna be, you know, like a muffin, different texture, more like a bar. I made these by the bazillions when my kids were home because they would take them with them if they were going on trips, if they were, you know, they had to have snacks for later or sports events. But these complete breakfast bars really are delicious. And again, they're super nutritious. So that's the most important part, that they are going to add a lot of extra nutritional value. So that could be a breakfast. Now, we could do something else really fun, and we could make some pancakes. But you know me, if we're going to make pancakes, we got to make them with a little bit of a twist, right? We can't just make them plain. So for my pancakes, I started with this flour blend, which is called Namaste. And this is one you can find at Costco. They've got the big bags, and anytime you can get the big bags, it's going to be cheaper. The base of this flour is brown rice. And you see me use all different kinds of flours as I've done, you know, all these different classes. But this Namaste is nice. It makes really nice pancakes. And let's go ahead and see what we're going to put in this one. I'm going to try to make it according to the recipe. You all know what a hard time I have doing that because I'm always changing recipes. But I'm going to go ahead and just do a smaller batch, so I won't do quite as much as it says on your recipe, because that's more for a family batch. And by the way, this will keep probably overnight, but not longer than that unless you make the pancakes, and then you can freeze the pancakes. So I just added a little bit of baking powder to my flour. I put the Namaste in there. I already put my spices in there, and I put my salt in there. I'm going to add my egg, and I'm going to add a little bit of stevia, because we're going to make this just a little bit sweet. We want this to be like a real yummy live pancake. So I've got a little stevia in there, and I'm going to put a little bit of oil. We don't need much, but you know, when you're making a pancake, you want a little bit of avocado oil. And then we're going to add my fun ingredients. We're going to add sweet potatoes and ground flax, and we're going to use a little bit of the almond milk. Remember, it has vanilla in it, so it's going to be really nice having the vanilla. So we'll add a little bit of milk. I can usually judge if I get it too thin. I just thicken it up with a little more flour. We're going to put a big handful of my sweet potato, and all I did with the sweet potato is just take a whole sweet potato and grate it. You see my grater's all dirty because I did potatoes. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I use that hand grater. I just find it so much easier. And I don't like sweet potato skin so much, so I peel it before I shred it, just so you can keep that in mind. You can do so many fun things with sweet potatoes, and remember, because they're orange, what do? They add a little bit of extra value because they have deeper color, more antioxidants, more anti-inflammatories. Now I've got Flaxseed Meal here by Bob's Red Mill. Normally I grind my own, but I have to tell you, somehow I've misplaced my coffee grinder that I use just for nuts. So I went ahead and bought Flaxseed Meal. It smelled very fresh. You want to be really careful, because once they grind it, it can go rancid fast. So after I buy something like this and open it, I put it in the freezer. I always keep it in the freezer so it stays nice and fresh. But I'm going to go ahead and add some flax meal to this. Now why would I add flax meal? Because flax is super, super anti-cancer. It's low in calories. As far as being a nut or a seed, it has 70 calories per 2 tablespoons, only 35 per tablespoon. It has 3 grams of protein, 0 sugar, 3 grams of fiber, and loads of a very special omega-3 fatty acid that can really help with breast cancer in particular. You'll see lots of research and lots of information out there about flaxseed and its benefit with breast cancer. So Flax Meal, Bob's Red Mill, you can find this. I got it at Kroger, so you can find it most anywhere. And then all I'm going to do is just go ahead and use just a little whisk and get this all whisked up to make my yummy, yummy pancakes. And I need a little bit more milk. You know, with pancake batter, you don't want it too thin, but you want it thin enough that it's going to actually make a nice pancake instead of being a real thick old, what do they used to call, brittle cakes or something like that, that they used in the olden days when that was more almost like a biscuit on a griddle. Now when you add the flax too, it thickens it up. So if you need to add a little extra milk, I'm going to show you what texture I like to have it. By the way, you know, I added a little cinnamon, a little ginger, made them kind of like you would think of sweet potatoes at holidays. Just a little more touch. And by the way, you could very easily add some blueberries, because right now blueberries are inexpensive, and I got a great deal on organic blueberries. So let's just for fun, I always have to change the recipe just a little bit, right? Let's add a little bit of fresh blueberries. Yum! And then we're going to go ahead and click up this griddle. I won't tell you what's over there, but it's going to go on top of these pancakes. So I'm going to go ahead and get some pancakes on the griddle, get it good and hot. You know, I've sprayed that with some oil, and then I always try to tell if my griddle's hot enough by just doing that. If it doesn't sizzle really good, if you've ever had pancakes where you gotta wait till you get to the second or the third batch before they're turning out decent, that's a little hint for you. So we're gonna turn it up a little. We're gonna let it get just a little bit hotter because it sizzled, but it didn't sizzle really sizzly. And then we'll put our pancakes on. Now I made these are just a little bit thicker. In fact, I think I'm gonna add just another dash of milk, just because I don't want them to be too thick to cook quickly. If you don't like blueberries, or you know, any other kind of berry would be awesome in here. And if you think, oh, there's no way, Jody, I'm not putting sweet potato, what about some zucchini or yellow squash? That would work great too. A little funky size-wise. Let's get that baby down there. All right. Got some delicious pancakes here. And I usually make them pretty small. Let's see if I can find a box to get a pancake turner. Let's see. Do we have one in here? We should. Yes. Here's this one. I like to make them a little on the smaller side and not the huge side, because I want to be sure that I don't overdo. And I don't know about you, but once I start eating pancakes, especially if they're those great big ones, I can just keep eating and eating and eating. So I want to make sure that I don't overdo on those carbohydrates. But think about this. We've got some good flaxseed in there for a little extra protein. We've got good whole grain. I still would probably want you to have this, maybe with some extra protein, like maybe an egg or something like that. These pancakes are still going to kind of pop the way regular pancakes will. So we'll just give it they're just starting to pop. You know how sometimes you can kind of feel and tell if they're about ready to flip. Let's see. Still just a little bit soft, so let's go a little more. Now over here in this skillet, I have some apples that I cooked to go over the top. And remember, I told you I got this great deal on these organic blueberries. So I added a few blueberries. Since I put a few blueberries in the pancakes, we have a syrup here. Rather than being one of the really high sugar syrups, even like if we were doing real maple, I've gone ahead and done it with fruit, because that's going to cut down significantly on our sugar, and it's also going to give us some great, I'll go ahead and turn it back on. We were getting it to the place where it was getting too thick, so I wanted to keep it thin enough. I put a little bit of coconut sugar in there just to give it kind of that caramelized taste, and then I put a little bit of stevia, and I used the vanilla stevia in here. Not much, doesn't take much, because these are good apples. I use a good organic Pink Lady apples. You can see I have all the scraps in here, because guess what I'm taking them home to? Yep, the goats. The goats love apple peels, and my new baby goat, oh, she's just absolutely thrilled with apple peels. So I'm going to take those home to her, but I've been finding, and I don't know if you all have noticed this, obviously I'm not shopping very often at all, but they have had some great, super great deals on organic apples. I've gotten organic apples for $2.99 a bag, and that's been cheaper than what the regular apples were. So look for these, but these particular ones today were the Pink Lady apples, and you know, I think you can use all different kinds, whatever you like. Let's go ahead and rinse off my spoon so I can put some syrup on the top of these. They look like they're about ready to come out here. Yeah. Really, yeah, they feel really good and nice. I think they're cooked all the way through. So we'll put these on a plate. And I love pancakes. You know, for a while when you couldn't get gluten-free breads, and I had one of my kiddos on a gluten-free diet, what I would do is I would make pancakes for bread. And sometimes when I didn't have time to make biscuits, I would do pancakes, and the kids thought they were about the same because, I mean, obviously it's just about the same ingredients. And then we'll just take some of this delicious syrup over here. Remember, just apples and some blueberries. I put a little bit of spice in there, put a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg. You can do it any way you want. And we'll spoon some of these over here. And I think it's not only beautiful, but super nutritious as well. And does it smell good? I know, Rachel's out there. I know she can smell that. So we've got this beautiful plate of pancakes. And I'm telling you that if that doesn't fill you up on a morning, I don't know, you're gonna have to do something, add some other stuff to it, but that could be a great breakfast. Again, super nice for the weekends if you want something special, you know, to make those sweet potato pancakes. But again, what did we do? We took a normal recipe using pretty normal ingredients, and we went ahead and we added extra value. By adding the sweet potatoes, by adding the flaxseed, we took just a flour pancake and made it a super duper pancake. And then by adding the fruit on the top, instead of adding maple syrup or, you know, something, honey or something like that, or that fake syrup, that would be the worst, we took something real, and you're getting a serving of fruit with it as well. So another great breakfast. The other recipe that I want to prepare for you is a recipe that I use with eggs, and I call them eggs in a basket. Let me rinse off my whisk, I'm going to need it again. And my eggs in a basket are something that I make a lot for company. I think that some of you will remember when I made a recipe called a potato pie. And these are kind of like mini potato pies. I just took a little bit of egg. I've actually got some in the oven that I'm going to show you, but I want to show you how I put it together. So this is just a Yukon Gold potato. I like Yukon Golds a lot. I think they have a little bit extra value to them, and so I often use them. They also grate really easy, and they don't have that, you know, hard peel on them so that you feel like you have to peel everything. I think with Yukon Golds you can just use them without peeling them, and you get the extra value. Because the peel, if they're organic, the peel has so much nutrient value. It has potassium, it has extra fiber. Now, remember how I told you that you could also use sweet potatoes in that potato pie? You can do the same thing here. In fact, I kind of purposefully saved a few of these sweet potatoes and grated extra so I can show you. Now, what I'm going to do is just take a muffin tin. I have my little one in the oven right this minute, so I'm going to use the big one. And then what I'm going to do is take my spray. I'm going to spray it pretty good because I want to be able to get these out when I'm done. You know how sometimes if you don't get the edges, it's going to be a little harder to get them out. Then I'm just going to take my potato and I'm just going to kind of make a nest in my little muffin tin. Probably can't see all this with all my stuff in the way, but we're making, I'll hold it up so you can see it. But I'm just going to make a little nest out of these potatoes. And you can see one fairly good sized potato made 3 nice thick good nests in my muffin tins. What I like about doing these individually is, especially if I make these at home, even if I make them for Dan and I, it's hard to get through that whole pie. Sometimes I find myself not using it all and it's been too many days and I gotta throw it away. So these little individual ones, you can make them and then you can freeze them. I'm going to take some of these sweet potatoes just to show you how you can do the same thing with sweet potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and put those in and make a little sweet potato nest. Now, this is another recipe that you can do so many different ways. You can do it exactly like my recipe if you're just a big recipe person, or if you want to, you say, I don't have any red peppers, Jody, I don't have this. Use whatever you've got. You know, that's the really cool thing about most of my recipes. You can substitute anything and everything you want. So in here, I just added some eggs. I had a little bit of leftover red pepper because I already put some in the oven. And then I had some chopped up power greens. So I'm going to add some more power greens in here. I've got some onion that I've already chopped. We're going to add that. I've got some peppers that I already chopped. We're going to add those. And I've got some zucchini and yellow squash that I've chopped. Now, I don't think that's on the recipe, so you can use that or not use that if you want. But whenever I have vegetables that are starting to get to the point where they need to be used, I always try to use them. And this is a super, super easy way to use them up. Now, I'm going to put, well, normally I would do my garlic fresh, but since it's sitting here and for time's sake, don't forget about this fresh garlic though. This is really good quality garlic. This is organic garlic. But remember that this fresh garlic, there's so much evidence that it will kill just about every kind of virus. I don't have the proof positive that it would kill COVID in you, but because it is so strongly antiviral and antifungal and antibacterial, I would count on it to at least help. So I'm going to put some of the garlic, the organic garlic powder in here, but normally I would just do a clove. And I'm going to put a little pepper. And for those of you that know me, you know I'm not a big salt girl, but I sure do like spike. So we're going to take a little bit of my spike, and we're going to put some spike in here. And for those of you that may be watching for the first time, spike is one of my favorite seasonings. This bottle looks really old, and it's because I just refill it with bulk every time I get bulk. But spike is one of the first natural seasoned salts. It does have salt in it, but it's much less because it has 42 herbs in it. And people always ask me, where do you get it? Well, I get it in bulk at Georgetown Market. They always carry the bulk, and most of the health food stores do carry the bulk, but they carry it in most of the stores. It's just that you're going to find it someplace weird, like on the bottom shelf behind the pole. That's usually not front and center with all the ones that pay more money to be on the shelf. Anyway, it's great. It's a fabulous seasoning. I'm also going to put just a little bit of nutmeg. Because I put in here the power greens, you know, and that's the kind of spinach and the different greens, I think the nutmeg just adds a really nice flavor to it. And so all I'm going to do, let me bring this over here where maybe I can show you a little more closely what I'm actually doing. I sure can make a disaster of a kitchen in a very short period of time. These are my nests. So you can see these three are potato and then the sweet potato. And then I'll just take this really delicious egg mixture. And by the way, I used organic eggs. And I'm always trying to value add to eggs. Even though they're a great protein, and really they're one of the most complete proteins that there is. They have an excellent balance of amino acids and so on. I always try to value add by adding those extra veggies, because you all know how I am about vegetables. I want you to get those 7 servings in, and when you can get an extra serving with breakfast, how much better is that? So these kind of soak into the eggs. That's why you're seeing me put a couple of extra spoonfuls. And then again, you can make, you know, a ton of these. You can make a couple of these. You can reduce the recipe so it works for whatever number you need. And then because people tell me they always miss the cheese, I'm going to add a little Daya, which is a vegan cheese, to the top. It doesn't have any soy in it. So a lot of people prefer to stay away from soy when they're battling certain kinds of cancer. They've been asked to. So I don't use any of the soy cheeses. So I'm going to use a little bit of this Daya because just on the top, it's going to add that kind of cheddary flavor. And actually, this is probably the best taste-wise cheese alternative that I found. It doesn't take much. You can see I have maybe about, I don't know, a teaspoon or so on each one. And then all we have to do with this is just pop this in the oven and let it bake. And while I pop those in the oven, I will pop these out of the oven and show you what they look like when they're baked and yummy. So these are my wonderful little eggs in a basket. See how they look? And what I'm going to do then is just get them, we probably are going to let them sit here just for a minute while I tell you about just a couple of other things, because they'll be too hot for me to manipulate to get out of the muffin tin until they cool just a little. But they're really cute and they turn out really nice. And you can see how those could easily be just popped in a little freezer bag and frozen as well. But we'll pop those out in a minute, and that could be something that you could have with your pancakes if you wanted. You know, you could just have a couple of pancakes and add one of those little eggs in a basket. Or you could just have eggs in a basket and, you know, a wonderful cup a nice hot green tea. Let's see what I didn't tell you about. I had a really good recipe that I think I've actually made for you before, but I wanted to remind you about. And because I made so many muffin-y type things, I didn't actually make these for you today, but I gave you the recipe. And that's for the cancer-fighting morning muffins. They're absolutely delicious. And again, this is the same kind of recipe. If you don't have something, don't worry. You can always use something else. I always think about muffins when my bananas are getting speckly, because I don't like them as speckly very much. I like them to be a little on the less ripe side if I eat them. So once they're getting speckly, I think of things like, how do we make a protein shake out of them? How can I put them into a muffin? What can I put them in? And so this cancer-fighting morning muffins has bananas, but if you hate bananas, you don't have to use bananas. You could use applesauce. You could use anything you want. But it has all kinds of extra added value. So we have the oats, sort of similar to our bars, and blueberries, but if you didn't have blueberries, I've made them with strawberries, I've made them with blackberries, I've made them 100 ways. Has almonds, chia, flax, sweet potato, and so you get all this nutrition packed into these little muffins. And remember how much I love to make mini muffins, because mini muffins are the ones that you can eat a few more of and then serve with better butter. Now I brought a new better butter that I found. I don't think I showed this to you yet because I just found it. But this is from Kroger, and it's organic and it's spreadable butter. The only thing is it's made with canola. No, sunflower oil, I'm sorry, not canola, sunflower oil. I'm not as fond of sunflower oil as I would be like the avocado or the grapeseed oil. But still, for those of you that haven't been able to make better butter and that's been something you haven't had time for, I don't know if you can tell, I took a little scoop out of here that I put with our apples as I made our syrup. But that's why I didn't put any butter on there. I forgot to tell you, it had a little butter in there, so the butter's on, instead of being on the pancake, I just put it in the syrup, and that way you can just spoon it on without having to butter it. But it's real nice and creamy, and it's spreadable right from the fridge. And that's important so we don't overdo butter. All right, let's see if we can get these little guys out of my pan. I usually try to let them sit maybe about 10 minutes or so, so I haven't quite given them that much time, but I think I'll be able to pop them out. I take a little knife and go around the edges. Come on, baby. Almost. I promise when you let them sit just a little longer, they're a lot easier. We'll put that down there, right there by our delicious little bar. And they make the nicest, I've seen these served somewhere, maybe it's at Starbucks, where they have those little, I think they're only made with egg whites. And I mean, I'm a really huge believer that we want to use things in as close to the way that they're made as possible. So the yolk and the white in an egg is what kind of combines together to make that perfect amino acid profile. So I like to use them both. But you can see these are nice. They're edible with fingers if you needed, with a fork if you wanted. Sometimes when I serve these, I'll put a nice bed of greens, and people are like, salad for breakfast? And I would say, it's brunch. And you can have salad for brunch. But you can put that on like a nice little bit of greens, and what you'll find is as you eat it, you find yourself eating the greens right along with it. So it can even be more of a green, or you could just put it on the side of a plate with, even a pancake or with a protein drink. So these are some good ideas, I think, for you to try something different for breakfast. But whether you make your own recipes you've been making forever, or you make one of my recipes, what I'd really encourage you to do is try some of these value added. Whether you're going to add some extra vegetables and, chop up a beautiful red pepper to go in your eggs, even if you're making an omelet. Don't make it all about cheese and sausage and all of that. Add some vegetables to it, especially add some greens. And then if you're going to make a protein shake, try to come up with some extra value added. One of the things I love to go in my protein shakes, because it really makes it rich and creamy, is avocados. Now I kind of give myself about 1/4 of an avocado a day, and so I try to decide how I want it. Do I want it on my salad? Do I want it in my shake? How do I want it? but the goodness of the fatty acids in avocados are fabulous. I have a lot of people asking me, Jody, you always talk about how to lose weight, because we know if we lose weight and we're underweight, we have less risk of cancer. But what about for those people that need to gain weight, that are way underweight because of cancer surgery, or maybe they were really sick and couldn't eat during treatment? Avocados and adding like the flax and the chia and extra complex carbohydrates can be the way you can gain weight as well. So you just get to have more of a good thing, and I get to have less of a good thing. So you can do it, any way you want to do it. But if we just manipulate those ingredients a little bit, we can accomplish whatever goal we want to. If you were to serve my wonderful little egg, you could serve it with just one piece of fresh fruit, and maybe you didn't have your wonderful smoothie. You decided, no, I don't have time. I have been getting the best organic pears. If any of you have braved Costco, they only let a couple people in at a time. But for whatever reason, I grabbed 2 whole bags of pears because they were so pretty and so nice. I thought I'd give one away to my kids, and I haven't done it. So I've been eating pears 1 a day. I'm real strict with myself and how much fruit I'm allowed to eat. You could probably have 2. But they have been heavenly. This is pear season. And for a while, when something's right in season and it's really super duper good, with organic pears, I'll buy those for a while. Same way with apples or whatever it might be. But try to make sure you're getting in some good fresh fruit. A lot of people are using canned everything right now because it's a little harder to get fresh during our time in, I call it our time in jail. I know we're not really in jail, but that's kind of how it feels to me. So I always talk about when I get out of jail. But if you do go into the store or you're ordering, try to make sure you order something fresh, so you can have a piece of fresh fruit with breakfast, or you can have it as a treat after dinner. So all of this that we made, you saw all the ingredients. We added all natural things, lots and lots of choices. Because I was able to get those fresh organic blueberries, that's why I added blueberries to everything. If I didn't have blueberries and I had strawberries, because I got some wonderful organic strawberries, I might kind of add strawberries to everything. So we want to make use of what we get. So don't be afraid to switch things out. Don't be afraid to try whatever kind of wonderful protein drink you can come up with. And if you don't have protein powder, make it a smoothie, but add something with protein in it. So you could add, something that was a little bit higher in protein. I don't really like to use raw eggs unless you're sure they're organic and they're safe. But I'll tell you, I've got people that throw a hard-boiled egg or a soft-boiled egg into their smoothie because they don't like eggs, but they can put it in a smoothie. So you could do that as well. I guess that's probably as much as I have for you tonight, and we're going to have everybody around here, all 2 of the people maybe, try some of our delicious food that we've made since we're socially distancing. But I hope you'll try it, and I hope you'll let me know how it comes out for you. And thanks so much for participating tonight.
I do have 2 questions for you.
Oh, great! Questions, I love them.
So someone asked why both sugar and stevia in the bars and muffins.
The coconut sugar isn't very sweet, and so we add the stevia to boost the sweetness of coconut sugar. It's a real low glycemic index, and if you taste it, it tastes like kind of really blah, not very sweet brown sugar. So we add the stevia to bring up the sweetness. But if we didn't use the coconut sugar, it wouldn't turn out right texture-wise. So it's more there for texture and completing the recipe.
Mm-hmm. And then the other question we had was, where did you get your great deal on organic blueberries?
At Kroger. I'm a big Kroger girl because I live where all we have is Kroger and Walmart. And so Kroger is less crowded and they have old people's time. So I go in the old people's time and there's not that many people there and kind of slip through the store. But I got great organic blueberries there.
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Well, thank you so much for your questions. Thanks for tuning in.